Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start off by sharing with you a quick fact that I found. CBS News states that for every 1,000 residents in the state of Mississippi, there are 6.8 guns. That's 20,389 registered firearms dispersed among 3 million people. Many people own a gun but do not know the correct history that follows one, but that is okay. I personally grew up around guns and own many guns, so therefore I learned to respect what a gun is, and I have learned to respect the history that comes with one. Today I'm going to share with you the history of the firearms and where they stand at in today's time, and most importantly I'm going to go into deep detail about when the very first gun was ever made, the different types of firearms that were made over the course of time, and lastly I'm going to share with you the two guns that were made in the 21st century. Without further ado, I'm going to tell you the brief history of firearms and where they stand at today. Firearms have been used to their full potential and have been used over for many decades, according to NRA museums. They have been used for hunting, for protecting oneself, or for protecting one's family. Guns were also made for other reasons, such as enforcing the law or for protecting personal property. Firearms were also used for other reasons, of course, other than just hunting or for personal protection. They're also been used for recreational use or for competitive shooting matches. And everyone likes to show off what they bought to their friends and family. Now that you know a brief history and where guns stand at today, I bet you're thinking about when the very first gun was ever made. History Cooperative shares a story about the very first gun and gunpowder that was ever made. It was made in China, and it was made between the 9th and 10th century. During the 10th century, China invented the very first gun. It was called the fire-spurting lances. This gun was very unique because they only used what they had around them. They used a metal rod or a bamboo rod, and it was used by only one person at a time. And they also used yoho, which also means fire chemical in their native language. Attempts of passes and fails of making different types of firearms, the 1800s roll around. And the 1800s really show us a different variety of firearms that were made. In 1836, Samuel Colt was given a patent for a revolver mechanism that allowed gun owners to fire multiple times before reloading, according to History.com. Like any other business, Samuel's gun did not start off very hot until 1846 when the Mexican War started up. About 15 or 20 years later, between 1861 and 1865, the Civil War begun. This made Samuel's Colt one of the very first guns and most popular guns in its time. Next, History Cooperative shares a story about John Moses Browning and how he invented the very first shotgun in 1878. Not only did he invent the very first shotgun, but he invented the different types of ones that come with it, such as the pump, the lever action, and the auto-loading. This gun was used mostly for hunting back in the day. Lastly, Northwich University shares a story about Hiram S. Maximum and how he changed the world and when he created the very first ever machine gun. This gun was self-powered and was energized by firing cartridges. This gun was also very unique because it could go through 600 rounds in just under a minute. And also this gun weighed up to about 140 pounds, making it very hard to move when times were fierce. Cool, just wait till you hear about these two. Weird.com shares a story with us about a young man named Cody Wilson and how he invented the 3D printed gun. It took Cody roughly about 5 years to make, but he got what he wanted. He first off started using plastic to make this gun, and not only did he start to sell this 3D printed gun and design, you could also make it in your very own home. Lastly, plastic turned into metal, and he created the untraceable AR-15 from just using a piece of aluminum. Firearms have made a big transition from the 9th and 10th century to now. Therefore, I have shared the history of firearms and where they stand at today. And most importantly, I went into deep detail about the very first gun that was made, the different types of firearms that were made over the course of time, and the guns that were made in the 21st century. Finally, I want to thank all the gun owners and non-gun owners out there for letting me explain the history of firearms and where they come from. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.